If you are reading Genesis chapter 8 for the first time, you will likely have a strong feeling that you can't quite put into words. This chapter feels too slow. The previous chapter was the Great Flood. The world was washed clean, judgment was carried out, and everything that needed to end had ended. By ordinary narrative logic, what should follow next is a swift move into a new beginning. But Scripture does not do that. Instead, it spends an entire chapter describing again and again how the waters recede, how time passes, how days move forward little by little. Chapter 8 opens with the words, "God remembered Noah." If you hear this phrase at face value, it sounds strange, because how could God ever forget? But this statement is not about God's memory. It is a declaration that the direction has shifted. It is not that Noah finally managed to endure, but that God began to move the world out of a state of judgment and back into a state where life could be preserved. Next, the text does not say, God spoke a word and the waters immediately withdrew. Instead, it says that God caused a wind to pass over the earth. This wording is not accidental, because at the very beginning, when God created the world, that same breath, this same wind, was already present. The author wants you to sense this. What is happening now is not merely post-disaster recovery, but a process of reordering the world itself. Then, time begins to stretch out. 150 days pass before the waters slowly recede. The ark comes to rest on the mountains, but the land is still uninhabitable. The mountain tops appear, yet the world is not yet safe. You begin to notice that Scripture deliberately separates what looks like it is better from what is actually ready to begin. Because this is the moment when humans are most likely to do one thing: to judge too early. Noah did not do that. He did not rush out. He began by watching. First, he sent out a raven. The text offers no conclusion at all. It simply says that it flew back and forth. It feels as though something happened, and yet as though nothing happened at the same time. Then he sent out a dove. The dove returned, because it could find no place to rest. The whole earth was still covered with water. At this point, the text pauses to record one specific action. Noah reached out his hand and brought the dove back to himself. This is not an unnecessary detail. It is meant to show you something clearly. Before God speaks, the one thing a human being ought to do is not to take matters into his own hands, but to hold the boundary. 7 days later, he sent out the dove again. This time, the dove returned with a freshly plucked olive leaf. Not a whole tree, not a scene of abundance, just a single leaf. But for Noah, that was enough, because it meant that life had begun to take root. After another 7 days, he sent out the dove once more, and this time it did not return. The text does not describe Noah's emotions. There is no celebration, no announcement. Everything remains quiet, almost still. Next, Noah removed the covering of the ark and saw that the ground was dry, and yet, even then, he did not go out. This is one of the most crucial moments in chapter 8, because it tells you something deeply counterintuitive. You may be able to see the exit and still not have the authority to decide when to begin. Only when God spoke. When God tells Noah, "Come out, you and your family," it is not because humanity is finally ready, but because God has decided that this world may be preserved. After Noah and every living creature come out, the first thing he does is not to rebuild life, but to build an altar and offer sacrifice. Not because he is exceptionally pious, but because he understands one thing clearly. The reason the world still exists is not because people have become better. God himself says it plainly. The intention of man's heart is evil from his youth. The problem has not been solved. Human nature has not been renewed. And yet at this very moment, God says, "I will never again curse the ground because of man." Not because humanity deserves it, but because God chooses patience. Then God declares an order of immense importance. As long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. This is not poetry. It is not a comforting phrase. It is a guarantee. It means that if you wake up today and the world is still running as usual, that is not something to be taken for granted. It is because God is still sustaining this world, a world not yet renewed but for now preserved. Genesis chapter 8 has no climax, no hero, no fleeting sense of victory. It speaks of how, after the flood has receded, Human beings are to learn how to wait, to submit, and to live in a world that remains broken, yet is treated with patience by God. And that is exactly the world we are living in now.